wait till we get a quorum. I think we only have one action item for vote, Ms. Curran?
Yes, sir.
So we'll give it a couple more minutes if y'all don't mind. Thank you.
He did. He's always ready for this.
We getting all our technology together for our presentation? All right. Wesley.
Weekend?
Yeah, it was really busy, man.
Yeah.
But it was good. We had a little small Fina place out there on Beach. I went early, so it was so hot though. I went back later to go my shelter and everything. Had a great time. We started getting able to sit under the shade out of your park. Plus my high school had all the classes. James Brown, CBS, anchor for the NFL today. He was a speaker.
Oh, man.
Ready when that first started.
Rock and roll.
He's changed up the presentation. I mean, it's still going to be on the study.
Good morning, everybody. We can officially start our meeting now that we have a quorum. Ms. Curran, roll call, please.
Roll call. Councilmember Thomas.
Present.
Councilmember Jeruso. Councilmember Harris. I know I saw her.
Yeah, she's here. We can vouch for her.
Okay. Councilmember King and Councilmember Green. So we have a quorum.
We have a quorum. First item on the agenda, please.
Can we get Councilmember Harris out here?
All right, I got this.
We have the approval of the
Yeah.
minutes
Yeah.
for the May 22nd meeting. But we need,
I want to welcome everyone to probably one of the most important meetings we're going to have, especially when you talk about our public utilities, our systems, and what's happening with water and drainage. So extremely important meeting, and I really appreciate everybody's participation. We're waiting on move to accept this contract. Accepts around $380,000 of federal funds. It's the formula.
Councilmember, we're voting on the approval of the minutes.
Oh, yeah, we got to do approval of minutes first.
Can I get a motion?
Motion by Councilmember Jeruso, second by Councilmember Harris. All in favor? Aye. Ayes have it. Motion is approved. Next item on the agenda.
This is a motion M24-248. This is a contract for council approval. This is between the city and the United States Department of Energy.
And as a brief, it accepts around $380,000 of the federal funding formula for the city. The grant will fund public outreach and engagement regarding energy efficiency opportunities available to our residents. So a continuing effort, right, to deal with sustainability, resiliency, and all of those efficiency things that are now trending. So get a motion to move? Moved by Councilmember Harris. Second by Councilmember Jeruso. All in favor? Ayes have it, so ordered. Item number 4.
We have the flood protection and drainage by the Water Institute. Bo Jones, President and CEO, is presenting.
Bo, when you're ready, tee it up.
Thank you, Councilman Thomas, for this. We are trying to get the presentation up. We're having some trouble getting the presentation up through the city's firewall. So if you could give us 1 or 2 minutes, we'll get it up.
Okay, well, while you guys are doing that, let's move, let's keep the agenda moving. Ms. Curran.
The next item on the agenda is the Sewage and Water Board's quarterly report.
Members of the Sewage and Water Board for the quarterly report. There's no law that says 5 can't be 4 when 4 is not ready. Boy, it doesn't do anything, you guys, to have this delayed a little bit while y'all are getting ready. Okay, all right, thank you. Identify yourselves and start your presentation when you're ready, Mr. Nelson.
Good morning, Steve Nelson, General Superintendent, Sewage and Water Board.
Gray Lewis, Chief Financial Officer, Sewage and Water Board.
I'm Grace Birch. I'm the Communications Director here at the Sewage and Water Board.
Thank you, and we're here to present on our Q1 2024 report. Got a brief presentation, and of course, stop us with any questions during the presentation or afterwards.
No, we will.
Excellent. First line up, hurricane season preparedness. We have identified our critical personnel and have gone through individual training with those individual groups. We have key personnel identified as well as equipment and staging locations. So should there be a named system in the Gulf, we have locations for equipment to be ready. We have personnel on call, and we have other contracts. We will have a meeting on the 13th to go into much more detail on the preparations for storm season this year. Did also want to mention we have been working with the Southeast Louisiana Flood Protection Authority to ensure that our outfall canal operations are aligned. We took part in a tabletop exercise with Entergy recently in preparation for storm season, and we've also been in regular communications with NOLA Ready.
And to be clear, that meeting Steve referenced on Wednesday is here at the council.
Is here
chamber.
at the council chambers on June 13th. Thank you.
Mr. Nelson, I want to stop in a minute because, a lot of times we use phrases and terms that we understand here, but the citizens who are watching. And someone had asked this before when we talked about outfall canals. Explain to our listening audience what outfall canals are and what their purpose is, please.
Yes, thank you very much. So we have Pump Station 6, which is the 17th Street Canal, and then we have the Orleans Canal, and then we have the canal at the end of Broad Street. Those pump stations we operate are internal to the city, and then the Southeast Louisiana Flood Protection Authority operates those pump stations that are at the lake. So when we have a named system, they close those gates at the lake, and then we pump into the canal, and then CEFLA, the Southeast Louisiana Flood Protection Authority, needs to be able to pump that water into the lake. So it's critical that we have an understanding, contacts, and standard operating procedures so that we don't overfill those canals and we maintain those operations. Excellent question, thank you. Naturally, pumping is a key concern for us, and all the pumps being ready, if they do not have power, does us no good. So we do have 49 megawatts of power currently available. We need a minimum of 44 megawatts to operate all of the pumps. I should mention this in the old part of the city. We do anticipate receiving parts for Turbine 4 later this week, and the installation of those parts and testing of Turbine 4 should be taking place next week, no later than the week following. We are also working to bring back our 5th EMD. That's an electromotive diesel. It's a converted locomotive engine. That should bring us up to 70 megawatts of power going into the end of June, which is a very good place for us to be. Again, we only need 44, but having that redundancy with the age and fragility of the system is critical for us. Moving on, this is a screenshot from swbno.org. We currently have 89 of 99 major drainage pumps available. Drainage pump stations 3 and 6. Those 2 pumps we anticipate testing this week with the goal of having those back online here by the end of this week. Those are 2 large pumps. Those are 1,000 cubic feet per second or larger. That's a lot of water in layman's terms. The next key focus for us are pumps in New Orleans East. So DPS 10, 14, 15, and 18, with a heavy focus on the 2 pumps that are at Drainage Pump Station 14. We really want to get those back up and running as soon as humanly possible, and we'll be in a good place from a pumping standpoint. Moving on to our smart metering program, we have over 20,000 meters installed to date. We do anticipate having half, that would be 70,000 of our 140,000 connections installed by the end of this year. We anticipate launching a customer portal sometime this summer, looking at September at this point. We have launched 2 videos. If customers are interested, you can go to swbno.org and look at those videos. It talks about the installation, the operation of those smart meters, so that instead of getting reads every other month, you'll have a read every hour. There will also be proactive emails and text alerts, but we are currently sending letters to customers who have continuous usage, which would indicate a leak. So we've sent, my understanding is over 3,000 of those letters to date, and we're finding that there are a significant portion of our customers who do have leaks on their property. So those letters, we're sending those out, we're tracking the data. Folks are able to repair those leaks and save money on their utility bills.
Steve, I know we talked about doing sort of true-ups.
Councilmember Harris.
Thank you, sir. True-ups between the bills that were estimated, and then you get your smart meter reader, and then going forward, what's the process there? Do you have to pay any back bill?
Yeah, I can address that question. So there's a first smart meter bill transition that represents the first bill that the customer receives using that smart meter data. and that's capped at 120% of the previous average. So that's not requiring the resident to request anything. That's just automatically done for all customers on their first smart meter bill.
And if there's a dispute with, and we often have billing disputes, someone's saying that they owe $100, but they're being charged $500, do they have to pay that $500 before going to the smart meter?
No, they do not have to pay a full amount to receive any other smart meter benefits. It would just be handled through the normal dispute resolution process.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Giarrusso.
I just want to make sure, too, we're on the same page. What happens to a customer's account if they are a manual and then it goes to a smart meter? If the account gets cleaned up before the smart meter is installed?
Yes, we've started with our smart meter billing strike team. They've looked at accounts to assess past due arrearages, any issues, and then they would receive the smart meter transition bill. If there was still a past due arrearage that hadn't been paid or resolved, that's us reaching out to the customer, asking them to have a payment plan, or if there's a need for an investigation, to initiate that investigation. We would take a look at it on a case-by-case basis.
Right. Okay. That's for what's owed, but what about disputed accounts?
A disputed account, we've submitted that list to get a smart meter, and then it's sort of the same process. Once they have a smart meter, they have old balances due under the manual meter. There still has to be an adjudication and either a credit if the Sewer and Water Board failed to perform something in some way, but it would have to be handled case by case.
So then the smart meter is delayed from being implemented until the adjudication is complete?
No, the smart meter is in place. The current bills would be calculated using the smart meter data. The pre-smart meter data is what's subject to a dispute or adjudication.
But then I guess that's the question. If you have bad data in, I want to make sure it doesn't start talking to what theoretically ought to be the good data coming from the smart meter.
Yeah, two separate time periods, the pre and post, because the meter is what distinguishes the smart meter. So you have two distinct time periods. So it's not going to be combined in any way.
Yeah, just want to make sure it doesn't happen, because I'm just saying, just so we're all very clear, we keep on hearing Sewage and Water Board is on an actual and an estimated read, and that's not happening. We're on a billing cycle that's by law 25 to 35 days. That's not happening. We have estimates that are grossly incorrect. That's still wrong. So we keep on telling the public the smart meter is going to be the panacea to your problems, and I just do not want that bad data to start getting integrated in with what should theoretically be no human error associated with it. And particularly, I think we should take this moment to emphasize that the smart meters are likely to cause a billing impact to residents too. So they should scrutinize their bill as well, because if your bill increases by 6, 7, 9%, it could be because of the smart meter too, correct?
Yeah, all good points. And just to remind residents, the smart meter is indicated with a number, the first letter. The old manual meters had a alpha character. So once you see that number meter on your bill, then you know it's a smart meter. And again, two different time periods, and all good points, things that need to be looked at as customers getting smart bills. Historically, we're here to help, trying to resolve those and get previous issues adjudicated.
Thank you.
Mr. Lewis, continue.
So on to the next series of slides about the lead and copper rule update. We're working on an inventory that will be available in a dashboard to our customers. There's a deadline for fall of this year. We'll be well in advance of that. We're also utilizing internal plumbing inspection report data to inform that inventory of where lead services do exist. We have door hangers that we're currently deploying to inform our customers when we come across a lead service line. And we're also continuing to develop messaging and a support program for our customers. I am pleased to announce the State Bond Commission has approved $84 million from the State Revolving Fund to support the removal of lead service lines that will be on both the public and private side of the meter, of the property line, I should say. And our next steps are continuing to develop that full communications plan, as well as a plan to replace those lead lines. On to the next slide, due October 16th is that publicly available service line inventory that I alluded to earlier. And then starting in 2027, there will be a 10-year timeline, and this is across the entire United States, for replacing 100% of lead services. It will also require mitigation for any disturbances, a lower action level of 15 micrograms per liter to 10 micrograms per liter, and increased community outreach. I do know that we've done an orientation with staff, and we will also be back before this body with a full LCR presentation later to go into much more detail on this topic. Currently, we have a three-prong approach to protecting our customers. It starts with corrosion control and treatment. We adjust the pH of our water to about 8.5. We also provide water testing kits to the public free of charge. So if someone has a desire to have their water tested in their home, they can call 504-52-WATER, or they can go to our website at swbno.org, fill out that form, and we will support them in completing a lead test for their home for free. We also have a service line replacement program that we are launching this year in earnest, and that is crucially supported by that $84 million that I mentioned earlier. One of our big successes over the course of the last year has been paving. I believe we talked about this when I started in January of 2023. We had over 3,000 open paving work orders. We are now down to, as of this morning, 839. The restoration timeline when those numbers were run was 71 days on average as opposed to 100. It's significantly lower than that as of today. And the goal, we're not finished. We want to get down to where we are on average 2 to 4 weeks, from when we make, 2 to 4 days would be ideal, but 2 to 4 weeks from when we make a hole to when we complete it. And I know through our maintenance escalations team, we've been receiving fewer complaints and challenges with paving. Doesn't mean we don't have other challenges with water and sewer, but we really want to continue on that track. So that's been a key success story for us this year. Moving on to the next slide, sewer and service and capital improvements. The power complex continues to move forward. We've got over $150 million in Sewerage and Water Board managed contracts under construction. And then many of the components of Phase 1 are anticipated to come online again. We remain online for summer 2025. I do want to mention again the importance of that $29 million. We've been pursuing that. That'll be key for us to be able to obtain that funding. We're also working on the Sycamore Filter Gallery to increase our filtering capacity. That contract was awarded in May. And our Water Quality Master Plan, we're actually beyond negotiations. That contract has been awarded to CDM Smith. Work started in Q1, and the first area of focus for us is the testing of actual laboratory testing of lead services under elevated chloride conditions. So if we were to have a saltwater intrusion event, we would have scientific data to back up lead levels, corrosion levels with any sort of chlorine intrusion. Any other questions on that at this point? I will turn it over.
Chair, I
Yes, please.
usually I'm going to wait until the end. I have questions on each segment, but I want to get through the report first.
Very good. I'll turn it over to Gray Lewis to talk through our operations reporting.
Thanks, Steve. Just to share with the Public Works Committee a few metric highlights from Q1 and financial highlights. We want a receivables slide. This is our customers that we're pursuing actively with collections for balances past due greater than 60 days, about $57.2 million at the end of Q1, relatively the same as the end of 2023. We have been successful with the new payment plan software, Promise Pay, as I mentioned earlier, at 6,800 plans initiated in the first quarter. We're up to closer to 9,000 today. And again, we're seeing success with these same plans being interest-free and a little more flexible, easy to sign up through a link through the website or through a phone number, which you'll see on a couple slides. So we encourage our residents to utilize that. The next slide is total delinquency for all customers. So this is balances not yet due, the regular bills, the past due for various buckets, and then both active and closed customers. It's about 2.9 million less than the end of last year. And on the next slide, we roll forward that balance to start with the 130.4 million, adding in the new bills for the first quarter. We take out collections and credits provided through billing investigations or other reasons for providing credits. We end up with 127.5 million. at the end of the quarter. This continues to be a major focus area, working with contractors, and also a project to start being able to go through all 25,000 on a more programmatic basis, to group those into like categories to see how these can be adjudicated in a more programmatic basis, so that contractors should be getting started in hopefully in the next couple of weeks to help with that. And again, get to an account resolution for all of our residents that are past due. Next slide is the promise pay information I mentioned. We've got over 8,800 payment plans activated, of about 20 million, 19 to 20 million has been promised. So we, happy to see that the retention rate has been higher than what we've previously seen with the old payment plan. So as that time goes by and customers continue to stay current, they will be catching up on their bill while also paying the regular bill. And it's important to know, like less than 10, or about around 10,000 have less than 500 in a debt to the Sewage and Water Board. So hopefully they can get that knocked out as soon as possible. And also, as we talked about, we've instituted a strike team to review customer accounts as they're getting smart meters in it, as well for these other critical areas that are very important to the utility, like the past due receivables. Next couple slides, just to highlight, we report on call center statistics in the quarterly report. We had over 60,000 calls in Q1. And the next slide, in the customer service area, Renee's team, they've hired a dedicated full-time customer service trainer to move forward with refresher trainings, developing manuals, doing a lot of key things to ensure our frontline personnel are well-trained in customer service matters. And then finally on the...
Before you move, Councilmember Giarrusso, please.
I just wanted to ask too, while we're sort of here talking about billing, can you spend some time talking about how Sewage and Water Board will be implementing the billing, I guess lack of a better word, bills that were passed in the legislature? So let's start in order. I guess Representative Willard's bill about no estimates as of 2025. How will that work?
Yeah, so at that time, roughly 70,000 smart meters in, so that leaves 70,000 with the manual meter. Rather than putting an estimate of consumption, you would just receive a bill with a ready-to-serve charge. So a zero estimate, so in other words, we're not estimating the following month. That would cover, your meter would be read, you would have 60 days of consumption reported on that bill, but that would all be actual consumption. So there would be no estimated amount of consumption to true up or add. It would just appear when the actual meter read is read and reported.
So in other words, there will be half the people who have meters who get a smart meter read, and then half of the people will get an actual read.
Right.
All right. Then with Representative Hilferty's bill, two components. One is level billing. If somebody elects to go into level billing before their smart meter is installed, how will that work?
Yeah, so we've initiated a project with the Cogsdale's, our software provider for the customer information system, to get fixed billing set up within the time parameters dictated by the bill, so that the customer would receive a notice of what their historical recent average of actual readings has been, what that consumption has been, what that would translate into a level bill, as you mentioned, and that would be elected or opted in by, this is for residential customers, and then that would become the bill each month until a smart meter is installed.
And then what happens if somebody wants to elect in and they have a dispute? So they have, I'll just make this up. So let's say they want to elect in November. They have 8 bills that are $150 generally, but the 9th bill is $700. It would just seem like it would be bad level billing to be at an average of those 150s and the 700.
Yeah, we will have the ability to customize that recent average to eliminate any outlier bills that are not representative of any historical consumptions.
And can that also be used for people who have ordinary disputes who aren't electing to get into level billing?
No, that's specific to the fixed billing process where you're developing a level bill.
Okay, why the difference?
Well, I think the law requires the bill be based on the recent average if you elect it. That's my, interpretation or understanding of the law.
Okay, I'm going to need some more clarity on that because I don't quite understand. It seems like then, if you are a rational actor, what you would do is elect to be in level billing, and then you're almost guaranteed to not be a bad estimate that's built in, so everybody should just elect to be in level billing, which would still seem to create the same amount of work Sewage and Water Board would need to do irrespective of whether you're in level billing or not.
Right. Yeah, and I think practically speaking, we will have a schedule of people that are getting a smart meter in the next 90 days. So for a person to elect in for such a short amount of time, it administratively just a little challenging, but this is a temporary measure until the smart meter is in, and once smart meter is in, each period you're getting the consumption on your bill.
Yeah, I guess, Gray, what I'm really worried about is a matter of equity, which is if you have somebody who has had a billing issue for 2 years and who for whatever reason says, I don't trust level billing, for example, that they get delayed another 6 or 9 months, and somebody who opts into level billing gets faster treatment. That doesn't, I'm just saying that seems like an inequitable approach to those two different billing issues.
Yeah, I think all residential customers have the opportunity to opt into the level fixed billing.
All right, well then, maybe the message to customers ought to be, everybody ought to opt in to level billing. I think that's my walk away, and if you have a problem, then that will necessitate quicker action than not. Is that what I'm hearing?
I think it's, if customers are more comfortable with that option, then that would, I think, be the spirit of the law. Certainly.
Right, but I guess my real question is, if you opt into level billing, then you will get a faster result of your bill being adjusted than if you continue in non-level billing.
Yeah, I guess a case-by-case situation. If what those issues that customer was having, I'm not sure I follow
The council was talking about the spirit of efficiency.
Well, I guess I seem to be getting two different answers, so I just want to clarify to make sure. What the answer seemed to be is if a customer opts into level billing, then if they have a bad bill somewhere along the way, that Sewage and Water Board will use averages or the billing process to make sure that the level bill is as accurate as possible. And that will be done expeditiously. Did I misstate that?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. If somebody opts not to get into level billing, then they're in the regular administrative law process, and that could take up to 3, 6, 9 months before that ultimately gets resolved.
Yeah, it's case by case. We're working to resolve any customer inquiry on a high consumption bill.
I'm just, what I think, just hear my point. I think Sewage and Water Board needs to think about a way to make those two things so they're not different, so they're parallel and treated the same.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think the last thing I just wanted to highlight for the Public Works Committee on the service and capital improvements, this is in the very beginning of the second quarter, actually, the handheld meter reading technology was instituted with the ability to take a camera picture with a smartphone of the actual read, so it's been very helpful in getting any meter reading capture questions addressed by being able to access a picture that's stored on a cloud and getting that documented. And then also on our two other major system upgrades, asset management system is through the GSO's office, been under contract for the needs assessment to select that software. And then on the financial system in my area, we're working on a project to implement a new cloud-based financial system. So we've done over 90 discovery sessions and moving along with that. Very excited to have that project underway. Steve?
All right, thank you very much. Looking at safety performance metrics, we've seen a 17% decrease in open extended workers' compensation claims, 0 safety hazard issues that have been reported in Q1 of 2024. We continue job site inspections and job hazard analyses, and all of this is underpinned by that desire to train our team members correctly so that we understand. We've got 64% of our employees that have completed the OSHA 10, 30, or both trainings as of March of this year, and 63 employees completed that in the first quarter. We'll look a little bit at individual work order performances internally. We've completed or 4,000 work orders created in the first quarter. We continue to have good turnaround times on sewer house connection and overflow backups at same-day response times. We do have two areas I want to focus on. Again, sewer main repairs and water hydrant leaks. We've dropped those timelines, I understand, from the fourth quarter of last year, but we want to continue to improve there. And there is a number that's off on this page. That 176 days is clearly not correct because there are no numbers higher than that above in the table. Where we are continuing to focus is with our contractors. The average days to completion is much higher for many of our contractor work orders. That is in part because of some older jobs. The backlog has decreased overall. Our overall backlog is down to around 1,000 open jobs. So as you decrease that backlog, those outliers that are really old can adversely affect those completion timelines. So we're really focused this quarter and next on paving in particular, getting that down to that 2 to 4 week turnaround time, and then also sewer leads, sewer main repairs, and hydrant leaks. We want to get that down to within a reasonable time frame of 4 to 6 weeks at most. Councilmember Green is not here, so I will have to channel him on this slide. We have 103 vacancies, 15 new employees hired, 16 resigned, 11 have been terminated in that quarter. I really want to put an emphasis on that June 21st job fair. We've got a job fair coming up to help us fill those 103 vacancies. Sewage and Water Board, through cooperation with City Council and also the Civil Service Commission, has really been able to update some of our pay scales. We've got really solid benefits. As you can see from our work orders history, there's a lot of job security here, and it's a great place to work. So we would love to see folks turn out for that June 21st job fair.
Nelson,
Yes, sir.
question. What,
Councilmember King.
thank you, Councilman Thomas. What are some of the jobs, not all of them, just a couple highlights of experience needed, education needed, qualifications?
There is a wide range of needs. We have everything from engineers and legal representatives, lawyers, all the way up to folks in operations, management, folks that want to be laborers, folks that want to get started. Maybe it's their first job out of high school, or they want to move over and be a part of our construction group, our networks group that does our field construction. We've got 350 employees there. We've always got open positions there. So if you're interested in the construction industry, we've got a lot of those positions open as well. So a wide range of opportunities.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Girousso.
I'm sorry. I'll wait to the end, till you're done with your presentation. I have one question about the West Power Complex when you're done.
Very good.
Thank you.
Got it. All right. Next set of slides is related to the JIRR program. DPW and the city is the lead on this program. We're working with them on this. There are 28 projects in the planning phase, 64 projects in design, 49 that have been merged, 16 are currently in the bid and award phase with 32 under construction. 7 projects have been complete, and there are 77 in contract closeout. I do want to mention on this program there is an anticipated shortfall due to inflation, which I think folks that have been around for a number of years can understand. The city is working on prioritizing those remaining projects and is working with their federal partners on determining how we can make sure that any shortfalls are overcome. I want to talk about our transmission projects, transmission main projects. We have 3 that have been completed: South Dupree, Eden Grape, and Dupree, St. Bernard. We have 3 that are in progress: Fig and Leonidas. The most visible being that South Claiborne and 3rd Street transmission main project. And then the other project on South Claiborne is 95% complete. The paving, mill, and overlay was completed last week, so there's a really nice stretch of road in front of Tulane. We also have 5 future projects that are in planning or plan to be bid. 6th Street, some assorted transmission and donor water lines, Spruce and the Carrollton Water Plant, Decatur and St. Peter's in the French Quarter, and Magnolia, Joseph, and the Willow transmission main project. Looking very briefly at our disadvantaged business enterprise participation. From January through March of this year, there were $20.4 million in contracts awarded to DBE subs, representing almost 36.5% of our average award to DBEs across the program. And that concludes our presentation. Are there questions?
Yeah. The first stop I want to make is that the power, and especially going into the season with some of the predictions, I'm looking at heat now and the temperature of the Atlantic and the Gulf, and that's usually a good determinant when you talk about an active storm season or the ingredients to give, even if you don't have an active season, the ingredients that would give you a Hurricane Katrina, Sandy, and some of those. How do we power up our system? What's our relationship with outage? I mean energy. I'm sorry, I get it mixed up with sometimes I think their name is outage, given the frequency of outages now. And in your power presentation, we talked about the power status. There are several, Carrollton, Citrus, St. Charles. There are many critical stations that if Entergy's system isn't up, how are we, when you talk about generators and the ability to that if Entergy's system is down, again, that we can rely on generators, especially for those badly needed stations and pumps. Where are we now? And what is our backup plan?
So there are kind of three different parts of the city. There's the old part of the city that's defined as the lake to the river, and then the industrial canal to the parish line. Mm-hmm. And that is served by our turbines and our electromotive diesels, the EMDs, and then also you alluded to those frequency changers. And so
I think Florida Station definitely needs backup.
Yeah, absolutely. So for that old part of the city, having as much power available as possible, because the system is as old as it is, being able to switch to backups and have that available is critical. So even though we only need 44 megawatts, having 70 available is key. So Turbine 4, even when it is back online, Lord willing, end of next week, it's still built in 1915, and again highlights the importance of that power complex project to be able to not have to rely on turbines or EMDs or even some of those older frequency changers. Now, to your point, in New Orleans East, we have backup generators so that if Entergy goes down, we've got individual generators for those stations.
16, at one point the generator didn't work.
That's right, and so we have backup generators there to cover for the...
You got backup generators for the generator.
Or the current generator, and we've presented on that, I believe, previously, that it's crucial for us to be able to replace that existing generator so that our backups can be available at other locations. So the Power Complex project is crucial. It's also really important to take a look at some of those other
And what about Citrus?
So Citrus, those generators, as I understand it, are all fed off of a common feed from the backup generators that we've got at stations 14 and 16. And if I misstate something, I will correct that in my discussion with my engineering group, but they are tied together. So we have two sets of generators there that can power pumps at those stations.
And the bottom line for me, so that if we lose, if Entergy loses power, right? There could be up to 7 different stations that could be affected, 7 pumps that could be affected, especially when you talk about an active season, which would put a lot more stress on the system. And you're saying we're prepared for that?
We do. We have backup generators. We have run, that was one of our key findings from IDA, was making sure that our backup generation power was ready, available, and had been run. And so on the West Bank, we have backup generators at stations 11 and 13. We run those regularly as well to make sure that if, God forbid, we should have a named event and it knocks out power to the larger grid, we are ready and prepared.
Billing, we talk about I think it was $11 or $12 million software system that the last administration paid for, and we haven't got a bill right since. But no one ever asked this basic question. Why was it so inaccurate? Have we found out why? That the reason why so many bills are inaccurate is because of...
Well, I think I'll let Gray defer to that, but I do, from the GSO's perspective, those estimates. Now, it doesn't mean that the software is perfect, but when you've got as many estimates, it makes it very difficult.
Okay.
Yeah, in terms of some type of route.
I mean, in relationship to that system that was advertised, that they spent several $1 million for, right? Why didn't it work?
Yeah, I think there's a lot more to that question. I mean, software is a calculation tool that produces numbers. People interact with software, set up, get made in software. But at this time, we're looking into a new replacement software, more modern, but there's probably multiple reasons.
A replacement software for the $12 million software that didn't work.
Yeah, it was Sewage and Water Board engaged in 2014, selected that on-premises software. Now the systems are cloud-based. That's so that technology.
So we invested in a system that you wouldn't be using now anyway.
It's about 10-year life, but it is fast. But the cloud-based systems are much better now, and that's the direction we're going.
Okay. Paving and cones, and I'm trying to go through things that our citizens talk about. And I've had this discussion before, Councilmember Giroux. It would seem to me that a real good business to be in would be the orange and white cone business, right? Because there's no system of collecting, right? When you talk about paving, and let me say, you guys are so much more efficient now, right, at responding. But you'll pave the street, and then too often, the cones will be left. So there isn't any system that says cone 123 is still at the corner of Bundy and I-10 Service Road. Did you pick it up yet? Cone 666 is blocking the interstate right now. Will somebody go retrieve it? So, because if I'm in the cone business, I know I can just keep supplying y'all cones because you ain't picking up the old cones, barrels. There is no system for retrieving cones or once a work site is done to,
Yeah, good question, great point. There is in fact a system, and
Or do we have an unlimited cone fund?
we do not have an unlimited cone fund, and the point is well made. And Zone 2, or within our networks group, is responsible for picking up cones, and it's also incumbent on our other groups to make sure that the work order is put in, because there's a problem code that says pick up barricade. And so if that gets missed or something falls through the cracks, that does become a problem. And that's something where we have in beta testing right now a work order dashboard so that folks can look at a map. Our customers have access to all the data that I've got to show, here's your street, here's your house, here's a dot, or there's no dot and the cones are still there. There will be a link to an online reporting form, which we already have at swbno.org, or they can call 504-52-WATER and report that issue. But it's a good point.
The problem with that is that you guys will go back and finish the paving, you do the finishing work, and the cones wind up being litter, debris. They block the interstates. They're perfectly reusable cones.
Yeah.
Right? What's the cone budget?
I don't have an exact cone
get us that
budget. It's spread across the different, but I can certainly find that, and the point is well made that we need to be efficient with our resources and putting those up.
Yeah, because whoever's supplying the cones, I mean, they got one of the best hustles going right now. Funding, I want to stay on the funding thing. There was just recently an article about the funding that the state didn't provide, the 29 million. Where are we with that? Were you guys involved in any of those negotiations with Senator Harris or the governor? And what is the status of that now?
Yeah, my understanding is the 29 million that was in the capital outlay bill, it has not been added to the P1 level, but I understand there's some discussions for potential other state funding to help fill that gap. So that's all I'm aware of right now.
Well, you guys may want to follow back up. In my discussions with the governor, we did speak last week that he understands the importance, and I sent him copies of the articles, copies of the concern, and why it was important. And when he called, he said there's a question mark there now, but it is his intention to make sure that the state meets that need and that responsibility. So if you guys could follow up. He didn't say exactly where the funds would come from, but he said that he expects his administration to live up to help us with that commitment.
Yeah, that would be great. I think Ghassan Korban has been in touch with them, but yeah, we will follow up. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Nelson, you mentioned the costs escalating because of inflation and shortfall. What percentage of the budget? Is there any percentage of the budget you think that'll be affected because of shortfall or because of inflation?
Yeah, so CDM, this is relative to the JIRR program. Yeah, so CDM Smith has completed a gap analysis. I know DPW and the city's offices have been looking at those numbers. As I understand it from the Sewage and Water Board's perspective, we've got about $400 million that we've got to be sure that we can get put into the ground. We have funding from several sources on that, and we are in conversations with the city on prioritizing so that we can meet both the street paving and the subsurface.
And I have two more questions. And first of all, thank you guys for being aggressive in the local market and the job fair. What I have seen in the 2 years that I've been back here, from what the questions were before, Councilmember Giarrusso, when I was just a regular citizen, he was really the Sewage and Water Board or Public Works person. And I think even though we have a lot of questions, a lot of his questions are being answered. I do see some efficiencies and much better responses going on right now. But when you talk about employee in job fairs, you know, one of the best things to make an organization, a business, or a department work is to have happy employees. You know, when they're well paid, they feel like there's an opportunity within the agency. And how much are we considering the people who have worked there for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years when you talk about positions, raises, advanced positions? How much are they being considered?
Yeah, without our team, we're nothing. We don't get out the door. And I think a great illustration of that is the presentation we had at one of our recent council meetings, recognizing 35-year plus employees. There's over 40 of those at the Sewage and Water Board. Recognized our network zone managers and provided declarations.
Didn't you used to block for Ryan Leaf?
He was 2 years before
He was 2
me.
years before you. So you know the importance of having
It's
having
absolutely
teammates.
critical. And we are in the process right now of a people plan that involves all of the input from our employees, because you're absolutely right. If they're not satisfied, if they're not sticking around, if they're not happy and productive, the Sewage and Water Board can't succeed.
Okay. As we continue to tackle these issues for funding, and now you got the business community recognizing the need for stormwater and more fees and more money, what's going to be our plan to make sure that local businesses and minority companies participate? You know, one of the most disappointing things that happens here is that we see these press conferences about growth, we get these federal grants, we get billions of dollars, and then when you look at the data center or the Alice report from United Way, when you look at the gap in income, the most disparaged communities don't participate from those contracts, those awards, or those special events. How mindful are you guys going to be to make sure that we're building a business base here to participate in how we repair and grow our water system?
Yeah, I would like to add, it's part of every contract that we involve the small businesses and train those and provide opportunities for them to get involved in our diversity business program. Very active in I know our directors here today, but just again encouraging all those businesses to get involved in doing business with us. We're very happy to do that and want to be responsive to them in all respects.
Right. And then lastly, before we go to Carr, the speaker, technology is changing. We're talking resiliency, stormwater management, sustainability, dealing with laterals, sewer consent decrees. Do we have any relationships with Delgado or universities or training institutions that can say, hey, look, we're going to be getting major funds, the system's going to be changing, we can start training our kids and our workforce to take advantage of the $2 billion need to stabilize this system?
Yeah, so we have been able to work with Delgado on some training for our water and sewer operators.
Right.
So continuing to do that's going to be crucial, and you're absolutely right. Technology is evolving, and being able to apply that to our infrastructure is going to be really important, and involving our local education institutions is key.
Before I get to the speakers, any other questions on any of those? It's Councilmember Girousso.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I just want to make sure, are there any agreements that Sewage and Water Board needs to execute between itself and the state on anything related to the West Power Complex or anything else in order to receive funds or receive anything from DOTD or any other state department?
I'm not aware of anything from the state level.
Okay, thank you.
Good question. Take the guessing out of it. Know what you need, right? Mr. Edward Parker?
Good morning. Edward
morning, Mr.
Parker,
Parker.
7802 Henley Street, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70126. Also a member of the New Orleans United Front. You briefly touched on the DBE participation. Can I get who the point person is to get more information on your DBE program?
It's Ms. Irma Plummer.
Yeah, thank you very much. Could I get a call?
Thank you. That's how you deal with that, man. You bring your team. That's right. It's it. A former team athlete knows to bring the team, right? We all got a good team. Ms. Curran, any online comments? No online comments? Any closing comments from Mr. Lewis or Mr. Nelson?
Thank you all very much for having us here. Really appreciate you all, the administration, governor's office, legislature.
And thank y'all for being responsive. You know, there's a whole lot to deal with, but you're actually making some gains in critical areas, and hopefully we're being, you know, we can be facetious and political sometimes, but hopefully we're being helpful, because I know most of our questions are really ones that we get from our citizens, and when we can answer them, it helps them. All right, thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ms. Curran.
Do you want to go back to the flood protection? Item 4.
We ready? Let's rock and roll.
Councilman, would you like me here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yo, drive? Hey,